So, my name is Vitaly Gachkovsky. I am a freelance graphic and product designer, and previously I worked as art researcher and copywriter at W1G1. Today, I'm with Prostor agency to talk to you about design as scholarship, which is an approach that replaces references with something different. Though, don't get me wrong, references are good because they help us get a sense of direction in our work and save time on trying all the options ourselves. But what happens when we rely on references too much? Homogeneity. You might remember a few years ago, there was this 80s craze in advertisement. So a lot of brands use the same aesthetics. Garamond font, lightbox product photos, huge slogans, and all the brands look the same, regardless whether it be an intimate toy or cosmetics or schemes. So how do we avoid this mood board trap? By replacing references with scholar research. And the difference between two is that with references, you replicate, but with scholarship, you have a deeper understanding. And when working with mood boards, you rely on visuals and focus on them. With research, you take concepts and principles and find your own visual interpretation of the idea. So today, I will explain this process using a visual identity I created for Ladansky Studio. It is a furniture workshop that uses ideas, materials, and techniques traditional to Orthodox Christian churches. Step one is to define your study area. You should learn the context of the project, why it exists, how it exists, what ideas does it translate. Also, why does the project need design in the first place? And what part does design play? These questions will give you a general understanding of the project and also some topics to dive into. And I usually start with the preliminary reading on the project. I research their website, socials, read interviews with founders if there are any. And there goes a series of workshops with the project team. I ask open questions and use spectrums, which is a pair of opposing terms. And the person has to locate the project between them. For example, is your project using more of the words or imagery while describing the product? After you define your study area and got the general sense of the project, you take the topics and find more data on them. Select sources for researching your topics. It can be books, movies, online art archives, research papers, video essays, maybe even field trips. And you should gather data without any restrictions or any expectations of a fixed outcome. And in this case, the studio has a strong connection to Christian aesthetics and philosophy because the founders come from a family of church artisans, and they draw attention and inspiration from materials and ideas of early Christianity and home churches. So during the research stage, I read articles and watched video essays on Christian Gnosticism, early Christian architecture and painting, and how it all affected daily lives of people and interiors. Also, thankfully, I live in Tbilisi and there are a lot of Eastern Orthodox churches here. So I was able to do a small field trip. I visited around 10 churches and documented any motifs on camera. And I just got a general sense of space in these churches. Another tip I want to give you is to pay attention to the sources you choose, because it is a very important step of every research. And some general data sources I can recommend are Public Domain Review, which is a website with articles on history and culture, which uses public domain materials so that you can copy these images and texts even commercially. Also, I want to recommend the Med website because they have an amazing archive of art from prehistoric area to our modern days, and you can navigate this collection, filtering it by era, materials, location. They also have supporting articles, so you can read more about objects, and some of the objects are also open source, and you can reuse them. Another great source is JSTOR, which is a huge archive of scholarly materials, like research papers, journals, books, and images in every possible field, from history to STEM, anything you want. Also, one of my favorite sources ever is Internet Archive. It is a website that documents human history in various artifacts, from ancient scrolls to archived websites. You can find literally anything here. For example, I read medieval exorcism codexes, and when I researched video art, I was watching Maya Deren here, and when I wanted to read three-body problem books, I found them for free and downloaded them here. And finally, I want to shout out Wikipedia because in our schools we were often told that it is unreliable, but I think it is a great starting point because it gives you a quick overview of the topic and also a further reading list. After you collected your data, you analyze it. Sort materials into themes, motifs, or anomalies, and look for emergent patterns and questions. After that, choose the main finding of your research and use it as the guiding principle for your design. And when any doubts arise, you can find the answer in the data you previously collected. In the case of Lavdansky, the key idea that followed me across various sources and the idea that I personally felt visiting these churches is Tabor light, which is the luminance emitted by Jesus during his transfiguration on Mount Tabor. And this Tabor light later became one of the key principles in Orthodox architecture and painting. The masters used light and emptiness as paint to display spiritual energy. And this was represented by specific window placement in churches, also by the use of gold in paintings, and by reducing the surrounding elements so that you focus on the feeling and the space itself. So I translated this idea using a metaphor of emphasizing light. I turned texts, which are usually heavy and static, because they follow from left to right, from top to bottom. I turned them into something weightless so that they can follow any direction they want. They can go upwards, downwards. They can follow geometric shapes, and the shapes are inspired by the circles and triangles of the icons, in which these shapes usually represent Holy Spirit. Also, these shapes simultaneously resemble architectural forms found inside churches, windows, arches, and stuff like that. And once I got my foundational idea, I used it as an encyclopedia with answers to all my questions. For example, when I didn't know how to design a poster and assemble images and texts, I used the window layout from a church. And this idea of lightness in grid and typography became the core of visual language. It was very easy to translate it in various media, for example, motion design, or to use it in the smallest of items by creating a mark based on a cup made by Ladansky Studio. You can see the cup on the right, and on the left is the smallest logotype of the studio. They are inspired by the icon of the gathering of Jesus in a table. And the artifacts I found during research became the silent inspiration for designed items. For example, I found these early Christian headstones used by Roman Gnostics, and I really liked how this serif typography in all caps and tight spacings, how it conveys this feeling of monotonous but spiritually enriched sensation. And this became one of the textiles I used across the identity. Another example is when these texts were following a path across an icon or an architectural form. The masters that used this approach did it because they wanted the text to give central stage to emptiness or to images and become secondary. So because I was emphasizing emptiness and light, I also used this approach to texts. And these principles are scalable across various contexts, from posters like here to social media, to small printed matter. Here you can see a business card. And finally, to long catalogs. Here you can see how all of the principles, grids, working with texts, images, how it all combines and comes together. And by having a key idea and a pool of corresponding artifacts, I was able to create an identity that suits the project visually and semantically, because it was very important to not draw attention from the furniture and also to not add any ideas that are in the opposite to the furniture. And that was the story. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting, and I found some new ways how to use images in design.
Great, thank you.
And I think I have a question, but it's a little bit separate about our topic. What is your favorite project?
You mean of what I've done or of design in general?
I think in general.
Well, I really like the visual identity of Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. Hey, Juliana. She's in Amsterdam right now. And I like it because it is very flexible. It can fit any exhibition, but at the same time, it's very recognizable. You can see this like as logotype, and you understand that this is Stedelijk. You also understand that this is something connected to modern culture. So yeah, it works for me very well.
Sounds good. Maybe someone else have questions?
Yeah.
Can I? You will be first or second?
Yeah, don't
So-
mind. Thanks.
Okay. So
Yeah, Becca, go on. Yeah.
okay. So the question is, after you gathered all the information, all necessary information about the problem with all like certain topics, the research papers, and you said that you can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. So, and you said that you're try to analyze it. So you search for certain patterns, and also maybe you use some specific techniques in order to analyze the questions, such as maybe some marketing search techniques, or like the double diamond, maybe something like this, or.
Well, I usually like to use these techniques, but in this specific case, I didn't, because it was a more like art-related project. So I just used the methods of like interview and data visualization, like mental maps and stuff like that. But usually I like to indeed use double diamond and like maybe even draw business models, stuff like that, to decompose the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vitaly, for this amazing presentation. Well, I have a really weird question, because I know, like, generally I know what you work with, but have you ever worked on a project with only sound references, or like with the visual references brought to minimum, so you'd have to create the identity from sounds, music, anything
Oh,
like
it's a very
that?
interesting question. It was once, there was this generative music festival organized by my university, and they needed a visual identity. So I created one using, it was actually also connected to Christianity because the festival was called Music for the Apocalypse. And I used the reference from the book of the Apocalypse, which says that there will be seven tubes playing, like tube, the musical instrument. There will be seven tubes playing during the day of the apocalypse. And I took the seven tubes as vectors, and like they were like moving and interpolating, creating different shapes to represent the generative aspect of music. So yeah, that was the only time I worked with like an abstract or non-visual foundation.
Well, thank you.
Hi. First of all, sorry, I don't have a camera on, but first of all, I want to say thank you for the lecture. It was so interesting, and I think it's so important in the era of like people just taking references and copying them identically. Is so important to think deeper than that, than the surface level. And it was such an amazing brain thought, I would say it like that, like thought train that you portrayed. And I have a question, like a personal one. What is your favorite? Might depend on the mood and something, but
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear what's my favorite what?
part of the process.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, my favorite part of the process is after presentation because I kind of hate the feeling of being lost, and I hate not knowing something. Like I hate when I don't have any rules, or I don't know anything. And when I like present to the client, that's when at least I have the foundation of my identity and I know something. So that's my favorite part emotionally. But like if we avoid this emotional discomfort, then my favorite part is doing drafts, because I like how quick thoughts can get when you don't give them too much value. Like you don't rely on them as if it's your only thought. Your goal is to create a lot of options, and I like how easy it is to generate ideas in this like mental mode.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Nastya.
Hi, I also have a question. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation, and the animations were beautiful.
Thank you.
So the question is, do you have a habit of casually researching some ancient materials and collecting them somewhere just without a specific aim for future projects or something like that? And if the answer is yes, where do you collect it?
Also a very nice question, because I was thinking about it recently. I used to do this. Like I used to go to Google Culture. That was the website, if I remember correctly. They had a lot of like articles on different art related stuff, and I was reading it just for fun. But recently, like after graduating from university, I don't have much time for this, but I really want to make this a habit. And I think it's better for me than scrolling reels. So I would like to do this. I like some websites. For example, there are That's Nice website related to, well, you almost probably know it's related to design. I like their articles. Also, the sources that I gave earlier are good. And usually if I find something very interesting, I add this material to my bookmarks. This happened with Internet Archive, like the Exorcism Codex and like all other interesting history books. I usually just save in my bookmarks and return at some point.
Okay, thank you. I will be glad if you share something that you really liked from this archive with me later, maybe,
Yeah,
or
of
here
course.
in the comments.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll send it to you. So I guess that's it. Does anybody else have questions?
The last question is, what's the last step of the research of your study before the analysis? Because I didn't catch up.
Oh, wait. Let me. Oh. I think now you can see my presentation. Yeah.
Only the
Yeah.
last.
Yeah. So this is the full list. Define study area, collect data, analyze material, interpret ideas, and yeah, it is basically based on an actual methodology of research. There are two types of research. Deductible, when you first get a specific question, for example, what is the impact of alcohol on a person's body? You have the specific question and you research it. It's the first type of research. The other type is inductive. When you don't have a specific question, you just have an area of interest, and you first collect data in this area and then analyze the arising repeating patterns. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you all for coming. And thank you for Prostor for organizing it.
Thank you, Vitalia.